Carl and Liam here from Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for sure. And it's We're Afraid of the Dark, our talk through of the Are You Afraid of the Dark TV series, focusing on season 1. This is episode 9, The Tale of the Sorcerer's Apprentice, directed by DJ McHale, our regular director for this season, and written by Stephen Zoller. We are now in the latter portion of season 1. In fact, all the seasons, except the later revival stuff, are only 13 episodes long per season. So it's not like Goosebumps where we were doing 24, 26 per season. It's going to be 13, then our tier list, 13 tier list, and so on.
I wonder if that was like a creative decision just because the pressure of having to write so many episodes. And from my memory, if it served me right, I do believe the quality of Are You Afraid of the Dark does actually get better as it gets deeper into it. So maybe it's because they were able to condense some of these ideas rather than having to stretch them out so thinly, you know.
I am intrigued by that. 13 definitely, the choice of doing 13 definitely seems a whole 13's unlucky because, you know, it's not even a round number. But yeah, it's interesting to say that because as we're up to episode 9 and including this one, my God, has this season been hit and miss. I have fonder memories of this show, and this season is maybe going, wait, why?
Yeah, I know. I kind of get on that as well. Even though I only watched it like a few years back, and I definitely I just feel like watching it now, maybe a little bit older. Yeah, it's not holding up quite as well as I remember, unfortunately. But maybe that's just because like a lot of these episodes, I would consider them to be quite forgettable in the long run. So there are episodes to come that are less that. So let's hope there's better ones to come.
Indeed, indeed. Right, our cast for this episode is Matthew McKay as Dean Burkham, Stacey Smith as Alex, but for some reason spelt A-L-I-X. I swear this show's in a wind-up. Because they call her Alex.
That's got to be a running joke.
Jane Gilchrist as Miss Crenshaw, Emma Stevens as Dr. Oliver, Stephen Hart as Goth. Again, you know when it's said in the episode, I was like, that they're not saying Goth, are they? Quick on the internet. Oh, it is Goth, as in, you know, like a goth.
Yeah, which is kind of a little bit amusing when you consider the type of transformation one of the character kind of has. It's kind of like, is that what they were thinking there? I don't know.
I would say as well when we actually see what goth looks like as well, you know. Yeah. And then uncredited is Jamie Ellman as a student. The only reason I'm mentioning this is because 5 years after this aired, Ross Hull, who of course plays Gary from the Midnight Society, co-starred with Jamie Ellman as best friends Chris Shepherd and Cody Miller in the beloved TV show, Student Bodies. And I was like, oh, that's really, really cool.
Yeah, I didn't even know he wanted to do that much else. That's interesting.
Yeah. This is Betty Ann's third story and now second in a row. So Betty Ann is dominating that chair. Others are coming up to have a read and tell her story, and Betty Ann slam them to the ground.
She's in the lead.
Because her previous two as well, of course, are The Tale of Laughing in the Dark and The Tale of the Nightly Neighbors, arguably the two strongest episodes of the your cat.
Lots of things on the table next to where they could potentially knock to the ground.
Oh, he's on the sill now. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, two of the strongest episodes she's done, so it's good. I had high hopes for this. Even though I read the description, I was kind of like, I don't know if I like the sound of this one, but yeah. We'll begin in fun fashion. The Midnight Society is exploring the bushes around a clearing, and Frank leads them to a grave, basically. A grave near the bushes. And, you know, everyone's obviously a bit shocked by it. David thinks it's probably someone's dog. Did you see the size of the grave, David? There isn't a dog in there. But Frank thinks that someone buried a person out there to hide the evidence. And then bets one of his valuable base basketball rookie cards, Michael Jordan. So again, to give it its time, that they'll find a maggot-ridden corpse inside. As they shine the torches on it, a skeleton pops out and scares them, and they all run off terrified. Kiki comes out from the bushes and high-fives Frank. It was a prank, and I must say, a very elaborate and well-put-together prank.
I have to say, I also appreciated the quality of this prank. So, good job. Thought it was effective.
Yeah. acknowledge gold. There it is. At the campsite, a debate around the scare joke is ongoing, but Gary interrupts the banter, wanting to know who is actually telling a story tonight. Betty Ann declares that she is, while holding a fake skull from the scare, and her story centers on a skull of a different sort, an ancient wizard's good luck charm. And she talks about how it can help one conquer the world, while adding that it can be far too much that one can bargain for. Submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, The Tale of the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Didn't get that. The only thing I don't get, and this is only afterwards, I did not get what she was referencing with the skull. None of that occurs in this episode.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Betty Ann explains that her story takes place in modern time, but starts with a flashback to the past. Late one night at Linden High in 1966, a person sneaks into the school. The person heads all the way down to the basement pool area. So basically it has a pool, and then underneath it, of course, where the piping and all that stuff is. She goes down there, pulling out a mesh bucket on a chain, and then starts to, I could not work out for the life of me. Later, I'll understand what she put in, but it looked like a rock to me that she initially puts in there.
Mm-hmm.
And we get a good shot here of a reflection in the water, and we see that it's a teenage girl, maybe about 15, 16.
Mm.
We also see her roll up her sleeve, revealing a tattoo of a red snake. I mean, it's a really bad tattoo, but, you know, still, yeah. She lowers and drops the bucket into the water, and then she gets alerted by the sound of some guards who obviously saw her breaking in and have now chased her down. Then she runs off, seemingly or presumably escaping, never to be seen again. Because now we're back in modern times as we meet Dean, a teenage boy struggling to fit in at school. I really like the description of Dean here, because it's so easy to go, Dean's a nerd, Dean gets bullied, Dean does this, we've seen it. No, that's not Dean. Dean is a nobody. He leaves no impression on the world at all. He's not popular, but not unpopular. He doesn't really play sport. He has few friends, but he has a close friend. He's all right at school, not very good at it, but he just gets by. And it's like, that's quite unusual to get, because it would have been easy just to go, here's a nerd.
Yeah, no, I do like that. I actually was going to highlight the intro to this story. I think it's set up really nicely, but introducing Dean and just a transition from the past and then to the present, I thought was really well done, actually.
100%. I was actually, again, don't remember this episode at all, but I was like, right, I'm interested to see where this goes.
I felt like the production felt like a bit higher maybe in this episode, because obviously they're using this location of the school. You got so many extras, all the other students and everything. I felt like it has a bit of a budget, this one.
Fair. Dean's only friend is a girl named Alex, and even though they're apparently the complete opposite, they talk. He moans about, failing a test, and she says his luck will change soon. At this point, we should note as well, and this is our first, I think, for the show, Betty Ann is still talking us through the episode. Like, we're a good couple of minutes in, and she's still doing narration over it to kind of bring us up to speed. But because Betty Ann's quite a good talker, quite a good storyteller, I didn't find it intrusive. I found it helped.
I quite like that. It's quite interesting to hear how she's telling it, because, often you always wonder, like, how the hell would they really explain what's happening here? But you get to kind of get an insight to that, which was quite cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Big up Betty Ann. She now tells us about world culture class and a visit from an archaeologist named Dr. Oliver. She describes the use of a golden dagger being used to cut the hearts of slaves about to be sacrificed. She also shows the class an ancient salt bowl that was used as a weapon to ward off evil spirits. So basically, she's showing artifacts, but showing the sort of darker side of use to them. Something that might be simple was actually used for this. But then she goes over the top with it and reveals an ancient Babylonian solid gold staff shaped like a cobra, so its head is a cobra, that supposedly belonged to an evil sorcerer named Goth, a terrible man, although it is said that those who follow Goth would get good fortune. I was so, well, I know it's a kid show and all that, but I was like, that stuff looks like shit. It doesn't look real. You've clearly just ripped that from Jafar, from Aladdin as well.
I was thinking the same one thing, yeah.
Yeah, but also it just felt really dumb. It was like, you would never be bringing that to a school. That's in a museum somewhere, you lunatic.
That's true.
And this little prize was recently excavated from an ancient Babylonian sorcerer's temple.
That thing belonged to a sorcerer?
Inscriptions say that this scepter belonged to Goth, a particularly nasty magician who enslaved thousands to do his evil bidding.
Dean seems to be fascinated by the staff and the story, blowing off Alex to go back and talk to Dr. Oliver. And we do get, I really like this scene here, as Dr. Oliver basically is like, she encourages him to look at the artifacts. She thinks like his interest in it, she's like, oh, cool, I've got you hooked. You might be interested in doing this. This could be a career for a student, for a young man and stuff like that. You kind of get the whole teacher, like, or not even a teacher, but the influencer in her and going, oh, you know, I've got someone interested in archaeology.
Yeah, I like that. This is just completely random, like me just paying way too much attention. But at the beginning of the scene, it kind of pans across the classroom with all the students watching the demonstration, and one of the students has like a full mustache, and I don't know what age these students are supposed to be, but I guess that maybe they had one of the crew or something or sit in for that scene. You're not supposed to see it. It's really quick. I thought it was quite funny.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go back and check that out on YouTube now. I didn't notice that. That's brilliant. In fact, actually, as always, obviously with these videos, after that, when they're edited, I add in snippets of footage. I will have that bit here.
Yeah. Should.
Dean makes a beeline for the staff, picking it up and looking into the jeweled eyes, but they start to glow and he seems to go into a trance, and we see him heading to the basement. He goes to the room that the girl at the start was in, retrieves the mesh bucket because it was on a chain, and I was initially skeptical of this, but they actually showed me that where it's chained is actually like a hook further down and slightly curved under. So if you're not fucking with that thing, you would never really know it was there.
Yeah.
And inside he takes out the item, and now I thought it looked like a pouch of some sorts. I still didn't know what the fuck it was.
Nope.
Sometime later, Dean is now a bad boy as he refuses to complete his test, going up to his teacher, getting in her face, and hypnotizes her, using his eyes to give him a good grade.
Is this supposed to be funny?
Is there a problem, Miss Crenshaw?
No. No problem.
After the class, Alex confronts him about the test, but he gets aggressive and scares her. What did you make of Dean's transformation as an actor?
Well, the first thing that came to my mind, which is not what you want to come to mind when somebody goes from being like kind of meek and quiet to suddenly being like a bad boy, is Spider-Man 3. So that, you know, that's not the, like I said, that's not really what you want to come to mind. But actually, I did actually think the actor that played Dean actually did a pretty decent job of coming across kind of like his aggressive nature and stuff like that. But obviously, there is a cheesiness to it. But thankfully, no goofy dance. So there's that.
It's a good reference. It did briefly flitter through my mind, but you nailed it there. You know, as for the love of Tobey Maguire, we all mock that sequence and seeing the Spider-Man 3 for good fucking reason. It is as bad as everybody says it is. This is not that. The actor's pretty good. What we don't have is enough time to really fully appreciate it. We didn't spend enough time with Dean as a nobody nice guy kind of thing to really appreciate him being a bit more tough and mean.
That's true, but I do think the acting actually throughout this whole episode is really quite strong, actually. So
yeah, there's some stuff to come with Dean and Alex that I think is even stronger than what we're getting here.
Mm-hmm.
Betty Ann informs us that over the next few days he stopped talking to Alex completely and started hanging out with a new group of students. And in class early, Alex sees Dean going into the science cupboard and sees him stealing something. She calls out his name, but he runs off. So she goes to check the cupboard to see he stole a jar of mercuric acid. And, you know, we do this, but seriously, we see that has a lot of different acids in there. And it doesn't have a lock. It is not padlocked in any way.
That's very irresponsible, isn't it?
It is indeed. Concerned about him, she follows Dean to the basement, and there she sees Dean preaching to a group of students who are basically under his spell. I've got a little Children of the Corn vibe here, but not as fun. Not as fun.
Yeah, I mean
classic like, Children of the Corn, not the many remakes, the original.
The ones that only you've watched, you mean? That no one else has dared to watch. You've done a good service there watching those for people, man. Definitely.
Someone's got to do this stuff, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The return of Goth is at hand.
He explains to his followers that a combination of mercuric acid and nightshade leaves from a belladonna plant can bring Goth back. This is where we get this episode's weird thing where they really want to get specific about the ingredients that bring Goth back. And they'll continue to do this. And I thought it was baffling. Why get all weird and on the point about specific ingredients? Why not just make it a fucking spell?
That's true. It's like they're trying to cram in this whole scientific aspect to it because that's what inevitably is a big part of the conclusion. But it's so something about chemistry they're trying to cram in there. I don't think it really it works that well. Like that's all though.
Alex drops a bag, getting the attention of Dean, who sends his minions after her. Somehow, Alex is apparently able to avoid them, and then immediately comes back to where Dean is on his own, finishing the ritual, putting the jewel that was in a pouch. So basically, here we go. That thing in the bucket was a pouch with a jewel inside. Finally.
There you go. Big reveal.
And he puts it in the mouth of the snake's staff. Goth now appears in the vapor and congratulates Dean, claiming he's waited centuries for an apprentice like him. Dean needs to find the final ingredient to free him, and Goth informs it must be done before the full moon tonight. And Goth promises Dean that if he succeeds in freeing him, anything he'll ever want will be his. All the power in the universe, but then follows that up with a really evil laugh. And I was just like, yeah, sure thing, buddy. Yeah, I believe that.
And then they have the weirdest like cut to a break during his laugh, and then it comes back and he's still laughing. So I can only assume that he's been doing the evil laugh the entire time. Like when you're watching it on TV and the ads are playing, you got to remember that he's laughing that entire time.
Stop and take a breath, carry on. Obviously, this is the first look at Goth from the sort of shoulders up. What did you think? Did you have any thoughts on his look?
I did. Well, you know, he's quite a little bit like cheesy looking, but we do often highlight the poor effects in these episodes. So I thought it was worth highlighting that I thought the floating head effect was actually not too bad. It looked all right, and I did actually like the lighting effects they were using for this episode. There's like this greenish look to it, and the smoke and stuff like that.
Yeah,
That was pretty nicely done. It added to the whole like feel of that they're going for. But yeah, he's obviously a bit cheesy looking. Yeah.
I second everything you said there. I was actually impressed because I thought it looked like shit. And later on, I think the effects really hold up as well. You talk about the lighting. I love that green hue, the smoke vapors and all that. I think they do a good job at it. They must have spent a fair bit of money on machines to constantly pump out a lot of that stuff. So good for the commitment to it. But I also want to praise two things about Goth. I think the look of him, and we'll get a better look at the end, while silly to a degree, it actually is quite reflective. What they tried to do was give him body paint and a look of the period of time he came from as like a priest almost kind of thing. When you see him at the end in his kind of outfit, I also weirdly got a slight tinge of Hellraiser vibes in that, you know, slight just by what he's wearing. But his voice, I think the voice, I don't know if it's a voice that's been like messed with to give it a really deeper tone, but I quite liked it.
Yeah, and it's quite interesting because the guy is probably on screen for like, I don't know, 30 seconds total in the entire episode, so he does not a bad job considering he came in, they put all this crazy makeup on him, and he has to do these funny effects or whatever, you know, and he is on the screen for like 30 seconds, but I think he does an okay job for that. But also, I got another thing that reminded me of Tommy Knockers, because of the whole greenish thing going on, and that's kind of like the whole body snatching type thing going on. So maybe there you go.
Indeed. We are referencing all the bad films today. Alex, once again, apparently having not learned her lesson, makes more noise, this time by backing up, and Goth demands that Dean stop her. But once again, she's able to escape. Everyone is useless at catching Alex, and she goes to find Dr. Oliver. Miss Crenshaw reveals that, of course, well, she's not here anymore. She's gone to other schools to teach and stuff like that. Alex tries to explain to her that Dean is possessed by an evil spirit, but Mrs. Crenshaw reveals that she's one of them too. This woman, this teacher, Miss Crenshaw, is in this episode for a very brief amount of time, but nails it. And this here, it's that classic reveal of someone that's being under influence, and the turn She's very creepy. She smiles creepily. It's uncomfortable. It's Invasion of the Body Snatchers style feeling.
Yeah, like we just highlighted with that guy played Goth again with her such a short amount of time, but delivers a memorable performance, which is great, you know.
Agreed. As Alex runs through the school, she runs into more of Dean's minions, ending up in the auditorium where Dean is. And this is arguably, in my opinion, the best scene in the episode. Dean explains that Goth has given everything you wanted, and Alex obviously tries to argue that he's controlling you, this is not good, and all that. But Dean is having none of it. And he tells her in a really interesting, I thought was interesting, again, change, telling her that their friendship, their previous friendship is why he's letting her go. I'm going to let you go, stay out of my way, but sooner or later, you'll be a follower too. But for now, we've been friends, so I'm going to let you get away and all that kind of thing. And I was like, that's really layered, man.
Yeah, there's definitely some layers there.
You're my best friend, Alex.
I am! Come back.
That's why I'm gonna let you go. But don't get in my way. It doesn't matter anyway. He'll be one of us soon enough.
But the biggest layer of all made me go, so he's not 100% under Goth's control. Because obviously if he was 100%, so that means there's a part of Dean that enjoys having the power, the influence, and all of that.
I do feel like that's something they could have built up more with maybe spending more time before the transformation, because there's definitely some mileage there for the idea that he's been obviously put down a lot in his life and blah, blah, blah. And now he's finally, like you say, in that position where now he's the one in charge and he's the one with the power and everyone fears him kind of thing. Yeah.
I think they had enough material here to do a two-parter. And when I thought that, I was like, ooh, does Are You Afraid of the Dark really do two-parters? So I went looking into it, and yeah, later seasons have two-parters.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It kind of reminded me of the whole Goosebumps episode, Calling All Creeps, that one. The character in there, quite similar, where they finally get in that position where they're in power and they decide to like keep it kind of thing, you know?
I hear that's actually a really good example, especially with their big kind of ending, the ending as well. Okay, where are we up to? Right. Outside, though, Dean and his minions leave on bikes. And I was like, well, that's just not cool. That's not as cool. It's far less cool see them all jump on the little high 10 speeds and ride off.
Yeah.
That night, Alex follows Dean and his friends to school. She sees them bringing in tons of mercuric acid and goes to call the police, but she's grabbed by minions and brought to Dean. He explains, look, I gave you a chance, but I can't give you another one, and then ordered his minions to put her in the van, right?
Mm-hmm.
You heard that, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. For some reason, we then cut back to the camp for a brief chat about the acid. And I was like, why are you interrupting the flow?
That's always my criticism.
Unbelievably timing. And then we again cut back to the school, and Dean and his minions are bringing Alex through the school to a sealed off room. I was like, wait, wasn't she supposed to go in the van?
Yeah. Good catch there.
According to Dean, now Dean tells us a story now. The girl from the very beginning, apparently went mad and was found by the security guards in this specific room, which turned out to be the pool of the school, empty, of course. Apparently, after the guards found her in there insane, the school closed it off after finding her inside. I was like, man, no, episode, you're pushing it here. You're pushing it here. The school's not going to close off a pool for 30 fucking years, never using it. And also inside it looks spotless. It's not overgrown. It looks like it's been cleaned regularly. But also the pool pumps were working downstairs. We could hear the motors running. Do better.
Yeah, it's take a bit too far.
Yep. Inside, Dean sets up the staff with the glowing red jewels. His minions begin to pour the big barrels of mercuric acid into the pool, and standing on a diving board, he then throws in a garbage bag full of belladonna leaves and nightshade. This is what we're talking about, this where it gets like all this scientific chemistry stuff.
Yeah.
Alex tells him to stop what he's doing, otherwise she will smash the staff, because for some reason, Dean allowed her to run around the pool without being held by his minions. Like, nobody's holding her. She's just free to do what she wants.
Yeah, the only thing you can possibly try and grab at is that a small part of Dean wanted her to stop it or something. I don't know, but that's probably reaching. Just bad writing.
Yeah, it's better than nothing. And she's able to pull the jewel out of the mouth of the snake, and the minions all fall to the floor. And I was like, wait, what? Again, which is it? Is it Dean controlling them or the staff controlling them then?
Good point. And also, are they okay, or are they like dead or what?
We'll get to that at the end. We'll get to that at the end. And what I think is the funniest scene I've seen in a long, long time. Dean, though, insists that it's too late and he's right as Goth is returning. Goth rises out of the mercuric acid, approaching Alex, having had enough of her interference, demands she bows before him. She refuses, throws the jewel at Goth, which sort of flashes red, and that seems to knock Dean out of his trance.
They're just making it up as they go along, aren't they?
It does feel like they didn't really know how to end this.
Yeah.
Bow before me, or feel my wrath.
No, go back!
You are the one who interferes.
Goth approaches Alex as Dean comes to, but Goth now freezes him in place. Goth then states, obviously because he's a villain, that he'll be coming for Dean next. What? Rising out of the pool, Dean now tells Alex to pour chlorine into the pool. Happily, there's a big barrel of chlorine just nearby.
That is unbelievably convenient, isn't it?
30 years just sitting there. She pours it into the pool and it dissolves the nightshade. Goth disappears in an explosion. Didn't expect the sparks an explosion, so boom.
Nice pyrotechnics, gotta say.
Never complain. And Dean now apologizes for being control. Alex forgives him and wonders, look, how did you know about the chlorine? And Dean reveals he remembered it from Miss Crenshaw's chemistry exam and that he knew chlorine would kill the bacteria in the organic leaves. I was like, oh, fuck was all of this, man?
The nightshade.
What was the point?
Well, he's going to turn to the camera and be like, remember, kids, pay attention, science class. And like,
it feels like that, right?
Yeah. And also, I have to say, like, the issue with these kind of things, when you've got such a short amount of time, like you said, it should have been a two-part, because you have this whole build-up, and I thought there was a lot of nice tension in the big showdown at the end, which was cool. And then Goth finally appears, all this, like, build to him finally coming out, and then he can make him look like an absolute fool, really. And he just does nothing. He just kind of doesn't. He could probably. What are his powers? What can he actually do? Because he can't stop Alex from pouring the chlorine. And yeah, it just makes it look like a bit of a dumb idiot, really.
It does indeed. I think they missed a trick to do the Darth Vader Emperor thing here to a certain degree in some way, which is kind of have Dean turn on Goth when he realizes he threatens Alex. I mean, and not because he's been broken out, being hypnotized. Layer it so that he breaks his own free because he doesn't want to see his friend hurt. He cares about her.
We want our redemption arc. Eye for the Dark. Give it to us.
That's it. There it is. So Dean and Alex reunite, hug, and head for home. Apparently, just walking out, unconcerned about anybody else. Don't go to look at them, just walking out. Although we do hilariously see the minions, now clearly not controlled, slowly trooping out. And I was just like, is nobody asking any questions? Is nobody saying to each other, wait, what the fuck? Why are we here? Why am I dressed in black? Why are you here? What's going on?
That's questions for their therapists, which I'm sure their parents will send them to, as they do in these shows, don't they?
Also, they leave the staff there.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't believe that. They just walked away and left it. That was just too stupid.
Indeed, but it's all because they want to do a reveal twist that makes no sense, unfortunately. Because you may have been wondering, there is one big plot hole in this episode that it's gone out of its way to try and avoid answering. Why didn't Dr. Oliver miss her solid golden staff? You think she'd have noticed the missing solid golden staff amongst her artifacts. It's a big plot hole.
Yeah, that is for sure. Yeah.
Well, it's now revealed she is actually a villain, as she appears and talks to herself, or us, the audience, suggesting that she's been trying to resurrect Goth for years. She claims that she has placed jewels in all of the high schools she's already visited and that they will have another chance. She then says, and to think when I was a young girl, they thought I was mad, revealing that she was the mad girl from the start. And I have so many questions. And you know what? The main one is this. It can all come under this one umbrella, this main question. Why doesn't she just resurrect Goth? Why does she need students? What the fuck? Why can't she do it?
Yeah, this is one of those just plain bad kind of like twists, I suppose, that you just kind of wish they just had not put in there, because as you said, the questions it raises are just far, far too many, and that, that's a great one. Just simply, why didn't she attempt to intervene and stop Alex at any time? Like, why does she want to pursue continuing to try and resurrect Goth? She literally just did it. She achieved what she wanted to do. It happened. He was right there, except for some reason she didn't do anything to stop this girl from making it go to shit, basically.
Yeah.
And it's just, and like, she could have intervened in many other times. Like I said, why does she need children to do it? It's so many things.
It's not often we see an episode collapse so severely the way this one does in its final 10 minutes. Because even back at the campfire, David and Eric declared that they smell a sequel. There will never be a sequel to this episode. I looked, and Gary then closes out the meeting. Yeah, this was a strong episode, doing good stuff until the final 10 minutes. And the final 10 minutes are so bad, in my opinion, so poorly done, so confusing, such a mess, that it undoes any of the good work, resulting in, to me, one of the worst, because it's one of the worst written.
Yeah, because the thing is, we always say with these episodes, Goosebumps, either like whatever, it's that final moment that normally sticks with you with the twist. If it's good or bad, that's the thing you will ultimately remember. And this is what we'll ultimately remember about this episode. And sadly, that'll mean that we look back on it as not being that good, which is a shame, because there were positives to it up to that point.
Yep.
And again, with certain Goosebumps episodes, also, obviously keep referencing that show because it's so similar.
Of course.
Like, a lot of the times what they would do with these episodes, especially the ones that have budgets, would be they'd raise the bar too high to a point where they just couldn't in a satisfactory way conclude it, because they feel like they're out of time or out of budget.
Yeah.
Had to end it. Even with the bit at the end of the campsite, it felt really abrupt. Like there was no like, normally
We've only got 20 seconds here, get it done.
That's how it felt, like straight to credits kind of thing. Yeah, so it's a shame.
It is a shame, but there you go. It is what it is. It's always an interesting experience working our way through this series. That was episode 9, The Tale of the Sorcerer's Apprentice. Do you feel as we do? You got any thoughts yourself? You know what to do? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at gbhbl. Just search for gbhbl and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.